What's up? What's up, everybody? End stream. All right, cool. All right, we are live, Vera. Let's see how this is shaping out to be. All right, this works. This
Yes,
works.
it does.
All right, cool. So we are back with another Ask Steve About Real Estate.
Real estate,
I
yes.
am here with Vera Cavalli.
Just like always, hello everyone again.
Yes, and so for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, this is a daily show that we have committed to, and the purpose of this show is to try to stump me. Try to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it's important for people to know that, like, if they work with us and our team, they can ask us anything. So that's the name of the segment. It's Ask Steve About Real Estate. And you're pulling questions from clients that you're dealing with on a daily basis.
And our team as well as QS. Sometimes they do come up with great questions that I do believe it's a great fit for you.
Yep.
Yeah. And sometimes, it's just a challenge that I want to see how Steven can conquer any challenge that comes across there. That's another thing, which I don't think for him is a challenge. With over 20 years in real estate, the legendary Steven, I don't think that will be a challenge, any question for you.
No,
do you feel like there is a challenge for you when sometimes a client asks you a question?
I think that the most important thing for me is that when people work with me, they know either I have the answer, or if I don't have it, I will, at least, as you said yesterday, point them in the right direction and or go seek the answer to the question.
Yeah.
So I do think it's a challenge. I have no idea what you're going to ask me. So, and we're live here. So, like, I'm not really trying to, look silly in front of, the world.
Absolutely. It makes total sense.
But okay, go ahead. Tell me, what do you got today?
Okay. So for today, I thought to ask you a more in-depth question. So let's imagine the situation that, you have an audience just like we have it on a day-to-day basis. Could be out there buyers, sellers, potential who are going to do the move either now or possibly down the road. But it's good for them to have an idea of what we do, what we deal, and how we would maneuver a certain situation. So given the situation, what would you suggest or what would you recommend? What would be your strategy to help either a buyer or a seller in a competitive situation to be a winning case without overpaying?
Okay, so we're talking specifically about buyers.
Buyers. Let's do buyers.
Okay. Yeah. And the question is, how do you win the offer?
In other words,
when there's multiple offers.
Multiple offers without them overpaying.
What
are you willing to do? What's your strategy? What's your technique that you usually apply that you come at the top as a winning situation for your client?
It's a great question. So how do you help your buyers not overpay but still win the offer?
Exactly.
During COVID, people were overpaying ridiculous, right? Like they were paying 10, 15, even 20% above the asking price to try to win the bids. In this market, we still are seeing tighter inventory. And what I mean by that is that there's still not a ton of houses on the market. So it is still in certain areas a seller's market. And the easiest way to understand that is that let's just imagine you have one house but 10 buyers.
Yeah, which most of the time it happens.
It happens, yeah. Well, depending on the area, right?
Correct,
but you are seeing some signs. We are seeing signs of the market loosening up a bit, and there being more sellers. Actually, in the month of February, there was, I think it was 9% more homes on the market than last February.
Interesting.
In the Bronx specifically.
Right.
So, people are watching this from all over the place. So we're not necessarily sure where they are, but let's go back to the core of it, right? In COVID, people were overpaying. Right now, people are still overpaying. But what I always do is I always say that let's not focus on the dollar amount. Let's talk to the seller. And if you can't talk to the seller, you talk to the seller's agent. Find out what's important for the seller, right? Do they need the flexibility of time? Do they need to close quickly? Do they want a deal that is potentially has less risk of failing, meaning higher down payments? Try to find out what the seller's story is, and then go back to my buyers and say, hey, look, this seller needs flexibility.
Right.
Let's try to build into our offer that sense of flexibility and say, hey, if you need time to be able to find a place, we'll allow you that time. So it's the terms matter just as much as the offer itself. Yes. So I don't always run to say, hey, we have to go, 5% over asking. I don't always do that. I try to get in the mind of the seller as much as possible. And sometimes they're not going to give you any indication, but if you're doing the walkthrough, or checking the home out for the first time, the showing, you'll see maybe there's boxes packed up. Maybe you'll see something that you could tell that maybe one of their kids had just graduated from college or high school. Maybe you could see something there that will give you an indication of what their needs are if they won't tell you directly. So focus on the terms. Go to flexibility. Go to higher down payment. Listen, there's people that advise their clients to waive inspections. I don't like to say waive an inspection, especially for a first-time home buyer. But what I will tell them is, hey, let's put the offer in with the inspection for informational purposes only. Reason being is because most realtors know that by doing the inspection, they're gonna, if something pops up, they're gonna knock the price down and say, hey, boiler don't work, knock off $10,000. So we could maybe build that in the offer, that the inspection is for informational purposes only.
Right.
And last but not least, I want to tell every buyer out there to not overpay by just looking at the comparables and finding out what the real value is. Right now in this market, and I do it too with my sellers, we price them strategically lower than the value, so that way to create that sense of urgency. So in order to not overpay, something might be priced at $699, but it's probably worth more like $750. So if the buyers know that, hey, look, I'm not worried about the sticker price. I'm not worried about the price of the marketing price, which is that $699 public facing number. I know this house is worth more than the price they're advertising. And the way I know that is because my realtor, Steven or Vera, has shown me that the house is really worth a lot more, so they don't feel like they're overpaying.
Right.
In the very rare case that you have a client that's like, Steven, I don't care. I want this house. What I do is I say, look, you may be overpaying by X amount of dollars. It's going to probably take you 2-3 years to let your equity catch up, meaning you're buying it for $725 now. It's not really worth $725. It's more worth like $699. In 2-3 years at the current pacing, it may be worth $725. And the buyer might say, I'm okay with that, because you know what? The money I'm overpaying for the price of the home is going to save me on the private schooling that I have to pay in the other neighborhood. And I got to pay $5,000 a year over there, so I'd rather pay it here. Also, what if the buyer?
That's a good point.
Yeah. Also, you got to look at other costs that are involved, right? Like, for example, transportation to work, right? Like, let's just say the house you're buying is 10 minutes from work, as opposed to the other one, which is 35 minutes without traffic, and you have to cross a bridge both ways. That's $20 per day.
Time consuming as well.
$20 per day times 5, that's $100 a week. $100 a week times 52 weeks is $5,000 a year. Never mind the fact of the gas. So you make it up in other ways. And that's how I like to approach the transaction from the buyer's perspective and the seller's perspective, to make sure they're not overpaying.
Yeah, which is a great answer. But how do you communicate that with the other side of the agent to make sure that you're still a priority over other offers, I would say competition out there?
Okay, so a lot of it goes into the language in the offer that we submit, right? Okay. So as you know, we always put a cover letter, or we put in the email the terms. We also tell
context,
them, exactly, the context of the email along with the actual offer sheet. The offer sheet is very short, but the context that you give, right? So the first thing I do is I call the agent and I talk to them and I say, hey, look, here's a story. I'm sending you an offer. This is what we're looking for. We're open to a counter offer if your client doesn't find this to be sufficient enough for them. In that cover letter, though, that I send, or that email, I guess the body of the email, I tell them that we have an inspector ready to go. I tell them that we have an attorney ready to go. I tell them whether or not the buyers need to sell in order to buy. I let them know how soon the buyers are looking to buy. I also give them a phone number of the lender so they can call the lender to find out how well qualified the buyer is, to make them feel reassured that they're going to actually close on the loan.
Yeah.
So those are just some things that I do to
extra just to
Yeah.
make it across on the other end.
Yeah, I never text over an offer. Hey, my buyer wants to submit $599.
Yeah, I know you go above and beyond. We all know that.
Well, it's important because
absolutely.
you're dealing with a transaction here that you could potentially, change somebody's life. And it's important to put that stuff together. Remember, when you first started, I kind of showed you like, hey, this is what you need to do.
And this is how is the best way to portray an offer where you would have the highest chance to be the first hand picked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
great answer, Steven. I knew you would have a phenomenal answer, and I really appreciate you, just like everybody else, how open you are to let everyone know what exactly you do for the client and how far you're willing to go above and beyond, behind the stage if it's necessary, just to make someone winning, because at the end of the day, we're talking about someone's life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the question.
Absolutely.
An in-depth question gets an in-depth answer.
Absolutely right. And here again we are, guys. We got the answer for today. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. Steven and Vera will be here to ask and answer, just like always.
Yeah, but we're taking the weekend off.
Yes, we do.
Monday.
Monday. We'll see you back on Monday, guys.
Take care, everybody.
Great answer, Steven. We all knew.